Thank you everyone for coming. So technically today it will be our maybe last lecture in terms of lecturing. So the next lecture is supposedly to be the project presentation. Most likely I will be traveling, so if I'm traveling then we'll schedule it in the finals week, alright? So usually I keep the last lecture for the project presentation. Actually that's good for you because it will give you some time to work on the project. Anyways, so we're coming to the end, so we went through a lot in this course, alright? And now we're gonna take a look at the OSI reference model, as you know. So usually we start with the physical, then data link layer, then the network, alright? And then we have the transport, and then the application, right? So as you know, in every layer here, we have different protocols that we run. So for example, in the TCP IP stack, alright? As an example, in the network layer, what we run? The IP protocol, whether it's version 4 or version 6. And in the transport, usually what we have? TCP or UDP, okay? Okay, and the application many. Okay, so you know, HTML for example, and many other protocols, right? So last time we looked at some of the applications that security applications or protocols that we could use to secure our communication, right? Can you give me an example? Anybody remembers? PGP. Okay, PGP. Pretty good privacy, and it's mine, right? Okay. So today we'll talk about securing the transport layer, transmission. So we'll talk about TLS and SSL, okay, SSL, and we'll talk about like having like the IPsec, alright? So we are not going to go into details, we're just gonna let you know about it a little bit, okay? As much as we can and the time permits. Do you agree? Alright, so the question is, you know, last time we used, for example, the PGP and SMIME, and we have seen how we could encrypt and do authentication and authorization and all of that. So why we need another level of security at the transport layer? So here we are looking at server, client, application, right? But not everything we run in the application is server client application, right? So with SMIME for the main and all different applications, you know, not everything will be able, you know, everything it will be a client server, okay? Actually, client server is in here, yeah. Okay, here actually, client server. Not everything is client server. Not everything it will be application secure, right? When it comes to the transport layer, okay, we're gonna have a security for a client server applications, right? Alright? So instead of having for HTML or for example for HTTP, we're gonna use HTTPS, right? Right? For the client server application. It will be secure communication between the client and the server application, right? Okay, that's what we use, right? Now, so not all the applications could have security like the mail system, alright? In here, so in the transport layer, we're trying to have a secure, I mean, we're looking at the client server application, server client application, where we try to secure the communication, right? Alright, so if it's secure in here, secure here, why we need security at the network layer?
Like ACL and
What is ACL?
access control list or something like
Yeah,
that.
but what do we need? I mean, the ACL has nothing here. ACL is a router. We have a router.
For port we used to integrate it.
Huh?
For port we used to put NAT, I think so, network address translation.
I understand, but why we need to, I mean, if it's everything is secure in here and secure in here and secure in here, why you need to have another encryption and another privacy in the network layer?
To segregate your network.
What?
Segregate your network?
Actually, one reason is not all the applications that we run is a client-server application. That's what I mentioned. The other reason, the TLS and SSL pursue, it depends on using, it depends on using TCP, which is a connection-oriented protocol. All right, but do we use always connection-oriented protocols in the transport layer? No. What if you used UDP? UDP is connections, right?
It is connection, but it usually won't even get any request from the client. It will automatically provide the.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not a client-server application. Okay. So if you're using, for example, UDP, okay, like video streaming, then the TLS and SSL will not protect it. So you need to have protection in the network layer. Okay, the network layer. Okay. And so on and so forth. So we'll see now. Okay. So basically, I mean, whenever you could secure your application, you secure it, like what we did with the mail server. With the mail server, we use BGP or SMIME to secure the content of the mail, right? And when it goes to the transport usually what you do, the like port server application, right? So it will allow you to secure the communication. So the whole data. By the way, I mean, when you browse the internet and you come to a site that is HTTP and they ask you for your name or your address or your credit card, what should you do? Never do it. Never do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so always, I mean, you have to keep it a habit. Actually, not you, I mean, you know it, but tell your children, your wife, your whatever, you know, people who their bill will come to you at the end. Okay, tell them that whenever before you put your credit card or any important information, just make sure that you have HTTPS secure link. Otherwise, everything will be sent as a plain text, and that's a bigger problem. It's unlikely to happen, but if it's a hacking site or something, that's what we'll get, right? And then after that, so this transport layer is the security of the TLS and SSL. It's like end-to-end security, end to end security. However, in the network layer, it's host to router, or router to host, or router to router. But it's not host to host. It's not end-to-end. It's not end-to-end security. Alright? So let's take a look, a little bit peek and a little bit see what we can learn from today's lecture and move forward. Okay? Alright, again, today's lecture, like previous lecture, you never, I mean, if like, for example, you are given this chapter or this lecture at the beginning of this course to read it, and you will not be able to understand anything because like it applies all the technologies that we have learned during this lecture and now, okay? Alright, so, sorry. Alright, so we're gonna discuss the need for security service at the transport layer of the internet. Then we'll discuss the SSL. SSL, by the way, is not secure anymore. So if your email is using SSL or your communication SSL, you must know you are not secure. It's not recommended anymore. You should not use it. The only thing we can use now is TLS, which is an upgrade for SSL. Alright? Maybe the author, when he published this book, I'm not sure what year it was published, the SSL was okay. Now it's not okay at all. So you make sure that you use TLS. Okay? So as you see in here, the location of SSL, it comes between the application layer and the TCP layer, between the application and the transport layer. So it's like we're adding a layer layer. And you know, when you talk about layer in the communications or in OSI, what does it mean? A header. You can add information header and some action with the data, right? So definitely an application has a header, and the SSL will have a header, and the TCP has a header. So you're gonna take a look at this. So SSL is designed to provide security and compression. So it does both security, and security is like extended security, which means like authentication, message authentication, and entity authentication, message authentication, and privacy, that confidentiality, right? Confidential encryption, all right? And it provides encryption, and provides compression for the data, surface to the data generated from the application layer. So we have the data from the application layer, okay? Before it goes to the transport layer, in the between layer, what we're gonna do? We're gonna compress it, we're gonna encrypt it, we're gonna create authentication, and then it goes really secure to where? To the transport layer. Okay? So just we're adding like a step function in between. So what are the services that we provide? We provide fragmentation. Why you need a fragmentation? You have a big message. You fragment it. Alright? And then after that you compress each fragment. You do compression. Alright? And the compression has to be lossless or lossy. Lossless, because you need to provide the data, and then you do message integrity. How we create message integrity? Digest. I mean, I love when somebody answers my questions, right? Digest, okay? Digest. Okay, how we create confidentiality? I'm not going to uncheck you. You told me you're sick already, so. Alright. Confidentiality. Encryption. Encrypt the data, right? And then framing. You build the frame using. Okay. So SSL basically will do all of that for you in a certain way. So for the key exchange methods, okay. So the first thing you have to do, you have to do key exchanging the. All right. So. All right. So. So the SSL is to provide security and compression. The compression, by the way, is an optional thing; it's not mandatory. And sign the packet and do the encryption. So the services again, fragmentation. What is a fragmentation? Divides the data into blocks of 2 to the power 14. So blocks. The maximum size of the block is 2 to the power 14. Okay, block. That's the message, big message, divided into a block. All right, and then, okay, compression, and the compression is optional. And then the message integrity. Let me go back in here. Okay, message integrity. In the message integrity, it will use a keyed hash function. Remember, there's two kinds. There's just a review. You're gonna have exam soon. So in the hash functions, there are 2 ways. Hash, you create a digest, and without a key, and then a keyed hash function. Can you give me an example for a keyed hash function? Mac, right? Remember the Mac? Okay, that use a key. Okay, that's the key to create the digest. Okay, we use the keyed hash function, and then after that we're gonna have the confidentiality. Confidentiality means what? Encryption. Encrypting what? What we're gonna encrypt? Okay, we're gonna encrypt both actually. We're gonna encrypt you should have told me I could have made you a tea in my office. I have tea and hot tea in the break. Alright. So so what you encrypt, so you put the data, you have your data, right? Okay, and you have the HMAC, which is for message integrity, and you have the header, right? The header in here. So what you do, you encrypt all of that. So what you're gonna encrypt? The data of the fragment with HMAC, and that will be encrypted. Will be basically encrypted, right? Then the last thing what we have, framing. We have framing. So what we do a frame, a header is added framing. We create a frame. There is no frame without header. Okay, you add a header. So the frame will be added to the encrypted payload. The payload then sent through reliable protocol. What is a reliable protocol in our case? TCP. TCP is a reliable protocol. Very simple. Very simple. Who does all of this? Ssl. Ssl, right? Who does all of this? Ssl. All right. Then when you look in here, we have two key exchange algorithms. Now we have a lot of work. What are the works we're gonna have? We should have a key for what? For the HMAC. We should have public key and private key for the communication, sender and receive. We have to exchange all of this information. So we need 6 cryptographic secrets. Six. Okay, cryptographic. Okay, 4 keys and 2 initialization vectors. Okay, there's 2 initialization vectors and 4 keys. So they're gonna come from somewhere, and both sender and the receiver they need to negotiate them. Okay, so creating the secret, create this secret, 1 per master key must be established between the 2 parties. Okay, so the SSL defines 6 key exchange methods to establish. So what are the key exchange? Did we learn in this course anything about key exchange? Yes, we did. Okay, for key exchange, what do we use? Asymmetric algorithms, right? Public. Okay, so what we did in here, this is the key exchange algorithms. So you could have no key exchange, no security, and you could have RSA. You remember RSA? Okay, RSA, and we use the key for encryption. We use anonymous Diffie-Hellman. Remember the Diffie-Hellman? Right? And we could have ephemeral Diffie-Hellman, and we use RSA or DSS, and fixed Diffie-Hellman, and we use Fortaza. Fortaza. It's like fortress in English. It's an Italian word. Anybody is Italian here? Okay. Fortaza, which is like fortress. Okay. Did we talk about Fortaza in this class? No. It's used where? In the army. I mean, like, you know, it's a security, it's a very high security, it's very complex, so I think it's too much to explain it in this textbook. It's not, okay? But you know how many algorithms we could have in here? We have there's 6 key methods. So the first one is null. Again, let's go quickly over them. Null, there is no key exchange in this method. We don't exchange keys. So both client and server need to know the value of the pre-master secret in advance, so they know it. You can't be agree. Okay, you know, you don't have to exchange. They know it. Okay, so there is something called a pre-master key. Pre-master key. This pre-master key we use it for what? To generate the other information. So they have to know it in the advance. Then after that, what we have, the RSA. Okay, in this method, the pre-master secret is 48-byte random number. It's a 48-byte random number. Okay, random number. It's a 48-byte random number, as you see here, and it's generated by the client. This is the pre-master secret key. So the client generates the 48-byte random number. That's a random number, but it has to share it with the server. So what does it do? It will encrypt it with what? With the server's public key. So, okay. Now it goes to the server. Can the server read it? Yes, using its private key. It's private key. So that's using RSA. So the server needs to send its RSA encryption decryption certificate. Okay. All right. The third way is anonymous Diffie-Hellman. The third way is anonymous Diffie-Hellman key exchange, and we already learned about the Diffie-Hellman before, right? So there is like the component, the GB and G to power S, which is for a server, and G to power C. Okay, Once both of them know, they could generate the pre-master key. How you generate it is G to the power
CS.
S and C multiplied mod B. Alright? So both have to exchange this information, right? They have to exchange this information. So this is the simplest and most inaccurate method. Okay, the pre-master secret is established between the client and the server using Diffie-Hellman. The Diffie-Hellman half keys are sent by plaintext. They are sent by plaintext. Not good. Okay, not good, because so if an attacker could catch both ways, then they would know what the pre-master key. All right. Then after that we have ephemeral Diffie-Hellman. Ephemeral Diffie-Hellman. Okay, but in here we send it with signature. It will be signed. So in here we have the server signature, and in here we have the client signature, and then both of them will be able to calculate what the pre-master. How they calculate it? Now they have the C and S. So G to the power CS. The G to the power CS. Okay. So in here, to thwart the man-in-the-middle attack, ephemeral Diffie-Hellman key exchange can be used. Each party sends a Diffie-Hellman key signed by its private key. So they will be signed by the private key. So it will sign with its private key. This will be able to check it with the public key of the sender. Right? So the public keys for the verification are exchanged using either RSA. So now, remember last time, exactly last lecture before, what was we talking about? The public key. So, I mean, anybody could fake the public key. Somebody could send you a public key and tell me if the doctor was there. That's not for me. So what did we use last time? Certificates, right? So key management. Okay, to manage the certificate. All right. So that's what we are doing in here. The public keys for verification are exchanged using RSA. So before that, that's why we see in here. We can go back in here. Okay. So in here, what you say, the RSA or the DSS. What is this for? To share or to certify the public keys. Okay. It's not enough to have my own public key. You have to make sure it's mine. So that's what we use, RSA or DSS for the, okay. I think you're getting everything I'm talking about, right? Because you are apprised about the whole concept from before, right? So we are just putting everything together to build a new system called SSL. We call it SSL, or they call it SSL, right? All right. Then after that we have fixed Diffie-Hellman. All right. Where is it? Oh. That's really weird. And then the fixed Diffie-Hellman, okay, which is another solution using the fixed Diffie-Hellman. The entities in the group can prepare fixed Diffie-Hellman parameters G and B. Each entity can create a fixed Diffie-Hellman, okay, G of X or whatever. But here to exchange we use what? A third party, which is CA. CA stands for Certificate Authority. Okay, we employ both parties. So if I need to exchange the keys. A client send it to the CA, and the server sends it to the key CA, and you request it from the Certificate Authority. It will change it. Okay. Again, the CA sends the half keys in an RSA or DSS special certificate. Good. Then we have the Fortaza. The Fortaza is used by National Security Agency, the NSA, and it is family of security protocols developed for the Defense Department. We do not discuss this Fortaza. Okay, so this are the 6. Okay, again, what we are talking about, the 6. Okay, different ways for key exchange. All right. So we have to exchange keys. We have learned about key exchange a lot in this course. So SSL gonna use one of these. All right? We're gonna use one of these. As simple as this. All right. Then after that, we move to encryption, decryption algorithms. Okay, you have to encrypt and decrypt. So how many algorithms we have learned in this class? A lot, right? So there are several choices for encryption, decryption algorithm. We can divide the algorithms into 6 groups as shown in here. So no encryption, decryption, stream RC4, you could use 40-bit, 40 key and 128 key. Lock RC2, and then you use a 40-bit key. Lock DES, we learned about DES, and we learned about the block DES, remember? Okay, in chapter 4. So you could use the 40K, and you could DES CBC and the DES EDE CBC. Alright, and you have a block idea. We did not talk about idea in this class, but it's one of the private key cryptography. And you could use block for TASA, which we did not explore. So SSL, they could use any of these. Alright? So what will happen? The server and the client, they have to agree in one. Okay? So if the client is using, for example, block idea, the server has to use block idea. That means what?
Both of them, the client and
They have to
server
agree, right? That means before they start using it, they have to what?
should
Exchange the information. We're gonna see how that the exchange of the information happens. All right? It's exactly like when I tell you, you could send me a letter, okay, with either in English or German or French or Italian. I can speak these 4 languages, right? Alright, so first of all, I have to pick one, send you the one I picked, then, or I have to send to you. It's not like this. I will send you the 4 languages I can speak, then you pick one as a server, one of them. But any one you pick, it will be okay with me. But I have at first to tell you which one I could do. Okay, that's what will happen. We'll see in a second. Okay? Any problems so far? So in here, the null encryption, the null cryptography simply defines the lack of encryption and decryption. There is no the data is not encrypted. Then you have stream RC. 2 RC algorithms are defined, the 40-bit key and the 120-bit key. Is RC4 safe anymore? No. Okay, we said when we were talking about it, that it's not safe, not secure anymore. How about the next one, the block RC algorithm, which we use 40-bit key. Then the DES. What's the problem with DES? Short key. It's not as secure as AES. We agree? It's not okay. And what is the size of the key? 168. Okay, 168-bit key. Then we have the idea, which is 128-bit, and then after we have the for TASA. So what we learned now, that there's 6 ways for key exchange, and there's 6 different algorithms for encryption. And for message authentication, there is okay, so explain that, okay. Therefore, message authentication, which is the hash, creating the digest. How many we have? We put null, that means there is no digest, or MD5, or SHA-1, or SHA-1, alright? So MD5, which is 128-bit key, and the SHA-1, which is more secure, okay. Okay. So now, after that, when you take a look at the cyber security or the cyber suite, so now we have a suite, right? A suite. We have 6 options for key exchange. We have 6 options for encryptions. We have 3 options for hash. All right. It's like we have to build a suite. Okay. So the client and you could mix and match, right? So the client and the server have to agree at one of these suites. So the combination of key exchange, hash, and encryption algorithms define a cipher suite for each SSL session. All right. So we're gonna talk about it later. when we start communicating, what we have to establish? Session. Okay? But session does not mean transmission of information. We have to establish inside the session what? Connection or connections. So each connection could exchange information. So you could have multiple connections inside the session. Alright? So in the session, to establish the session, they have to know the three things. So for example, this is SSL, okay, the suite in here, DHE, okay, it's using the RSA with DES for encryption, ABC, blockchain, and for hash, what it's using, SHA. That's a suite. So they could agree in this suite. Okay, this is suite. So each suite starts with the term SSL followed by key exchange algorithm. The key exchange algorithm in here, okay, and the word width separates the key exchange algorithm from the encryption and hash algorithm, as you see in here. So we have so many suites you could pick from, as you see in here. So these are so many suites. Okay, so the first one, let's take a look, the last one. So SSL, Forteza, so that Forteza that we use for key exchange and Forteza, okay, and then we use RC4 128 for encryption, and we use SHA for creating the digest. All right, so these are many suites. All right, part of the function that SSL do is what? Compression. Thank you. Compression. So the compression, okay, the compression, which usually in SSL version 3, there is no specific compression algorithm defined. The default compression method usually is none, so there is no compression. Then after that, cryptographic parameter generation. Parameter generation. All right. So what are the parameters we're gonna generate? To initialization vector and for keys. And for keys. From where? From the master keyword we generated before, right? From the master key. Okay. So to achieve message integrity and confidentiality, SSL needs 6 cryptographic secrets. 4 of them, 4 keys, and how many IVs? 2 IVs. Okay. The client needs 1 key for message authentication. So the client needs 1 key for count with me for message authentication, which is the MAC, right? And 1 key for encryption. This is 2. 1 key for encryption and 1 initialization vector. This is 3. And the server needs the same 3. How many is total? 6. 3 plus 3, 6. So 1 for the HMAC, 1 for the encryption, and 1 for initialization vector. Okay? 1 for the initialization vector, right? The server, we're gonna need the same thing, right? So the client and the server exchange 2, how it will happen, okay? The client and the server exchange 2 random numbers. One is created by the client and the other created by the server. So we start with random numbers. 1 by the server and 1 by the client. Exchange them. So now the server has how many random numbers? 2. His own and from the client. And the client has how many random numbers? 2. His own and from the server. Right? So the client and the server exchange 1 pre-master secret. Okay, using one of the key exchange algorithms. That is what we have 6 keys. One of them we have to exchange the pre-master secret algorithm, and then a 48-bit master secret. So we start with the 48-byte. Okay, master secret is created from the pre-master key. Okay, so master secret is created for pre-master secret by applying 2 hash functions. So if we're gonna take a look at in here, let's take a look in here. So that's how it is. So calculation of the master, we have to calculate the master secret. That's the first thing. So what we do, okay, you have in here, you have the PM, which is the pre-master secret, Then you have the CR, which is server random number. Remember, we started with 2 random numbers. The client created a random number. What does it do with it? Send it to the server. Okay. Then the server creates a random number. What does it do with it? Send it to the client. So we have 2 random numbers. And then both of them will work in creating the pre-master secret. So we're gonna use these random numbers, the 3 of them, to create what? The master secret as the following. So you put the the pre-master secret with the client random, with the server random, and you prepend it with A. You pass it to SHA. Okay, SHA will create what?
Hash.
The hash, the digest. Okay, again you bring the pre-master's number, and you do another different kind of hash, MD5, and you're gonna create hash. Okay, you're gonna do this 3 times. The prepending in here is BB, and the prepending in here is CC, and you're gonna create how many in here? 16 plus 16 plus 16, how much? 48. 48 bytes master secret. This is where we start. This is where the game starts. Okay? Random number, pre-master, and we have to generate the 48 bytes. Here is where it starts. From here, now we're gonna derive what? The six what? Secrets. What are the 6 secrets? We need a secret for HMAC, a secret for encryption, and IV. This is for client. Same things we need them for what? The server. 6. They are all driven from here. From where?
Master secret.
From the master key. Good so far? So good so far? Okay. Alright. So the master secret is used to create variable length key material by applying the same set of hash functions and prepending with different constants as shown. So remember now, let me ask you a question. What are the sizes of the HMAC key and the encryption key and the IV? What is the size? No, the 48 is the pre-master. Okay, now from this we're gonna generate 6 numbers, right? What are the 6 numbers? We need secret key for the HMAC, for the client and server. This is 2, and we need
2
for encryption 2, and we need IV is 2. What is the size for these? It depends on the encryption we're gonna use. If you are using DES, for example, it will be 68. If you understand, each one of these algorithms, okay, will have different size keys, right? So it will depend very much on the suite we pick, right? It will depend on the suite we pick, right? So, right, I'm gonna generate from the 6 numbers. It will depend in the suite we pick. So let's take a look in here. So what will happen in here, as you see in here, again, we do the same thing. The M, what is the M? The master, and the CR is the random number, the SR is the server random number. We prepend it with A. Alright, SHA, we put the M in here, MD5, then we create hash. So this, how many times we need to do this depends on what size of keys I need. Anyways, so I'm gonna generate multiple hashes together, and this will form what? The key material. Key material are used to generate the 6 secret keys. Okay? So the size changes, depends on the suite we have picked. Is it okay? So the length of the key material block depends on the Cipher suite selected and the size of the key needed for each suite. Right? Then after that we have 6 different keys are extracted from the key material. Where's the key material? Here. We have to extract 6 keys from there. Alright? We have to extract what? The client authentication key. That's used for what? The HMAC. Okay, then you have the server authentication key that's used for HMAC where at the server, and the client encryption key, and the server encryption key, the client IV, and the server IV. So we're gonna extract from this master key 6 numbers. We're gonna use them later. All right, simple. I mean, so far it's simple, right? Simple, very simple. All right. All right. So that's how we create the keys. All right. Now we need to talk about the sessions and the connections. So in a session, okay. So in a so the session and the session is association between the client and server. So always we create a session between a client and server. All right. If this server needs to communicate with another client, has to create a different session. This is okay. So as after a session is established, the two parties have common information, such as the session identifier, etc. Okay. So each session, when you create a session between a client and server, that does not mean communication. For communication, you have to create what? A connection. And the session could have multiple connections. A session could have multiple connections. For two entities to exchange data, the establishment of a session is necessary, but not sufficient. They need to create a connection between themselves. The two entities exchange 2 random numbers and create using the master secret, the keys, and the parameters needed for exchanging message involving authentication and privacy. A session can consist of many connections, as we said. A session can be suspended and resumed again. You can suspend the session and resume it again. All right. If you suspend, not cancel, you could use the same master key. If you cancel, you have to reestablish it again, right? So in summary, what we're saying in session, one party has the role of a client and the other have the role of a server in session. So in session we have server, client, right? However, in a connection, both parties have equal roles. They are peers. They are peers. Okay, peers communicating. All right. So let me summarize before you get lost. Before you get lost, I'm already lost. Okay. So we have, okay. First of all, we have to create the 6 keys, right? How we start? By randoms. Client to create a random, server create a random, and they both share a pre-secret random number also. All right. Then from that we create a master secret. From the master secret, what we create? The material, keys material, and from the keys material we extract 6 values. Okay, 2 keys for the HMAC, 2 keys for the encryption, and 2 IVs. The size of these numbers differ depending on the suite we are using. The communication starts between them by creating what? Session. So session is a client-server application. One client, one server. Creating the session does not mean communication. Communication has to create a connection. I have to create a connection. So a session could have how many connections? 0 and more. Okay, 0 if there is no connection. 1, 2, 3, multiple. Okay, multiple, right? Okay. Session to session. Session is a client-server application. Connection is peer communication. Peer communication. Clear? That's what we covered. All so far. Nothing special, right? Okay. So let's take a look in here. If you take a look in here, that's what happens. So you have a client and you have a server. So you have a session state. Session state. Okay. State means what? Active or not active? It's active. And means also the parameters shared. Okay, session state. Okay, and then you could have multiple connections. So the connection state, terminated, not terminated, active, not active, whatever. And then the connection between. Okay, so connection. All right. So in here, it's a peer-to-peer communication. Peer-to-peer communication. In the session level, what we have? Client to server connection, client to server connection. So let's talk a little bit about the session state since we are talking about the session state. Okay. So the session is defined by a session state. What is a state? A set of parameters. Okay, a set of parameters, right? A set of parameters established between the server and the client. There is a set of parameters established, they're exchanged, right? All right. So, right? Okay. So, so we'll see what are the parameters exchanged. Are they here? As you can take a look in here. So you have the session ID. So each session has to have ID, session ID, which is a server random 8-bit number defining the session. And then we have peer certificate, a certificate of type X509. And of course, now you are familiar with X509, right? That's what we use for certifications, right? Okay. This parameter may be empty, and then we have the compression method. A compression method between them, they have to agree in the compression method, and then the cipher suite, they have to agree in the cipher suite, right? That's what we said. I mean, there's so many options for encryption, HMAC, so they have to agree. What is the cipher? This is state. They have to be there, and then the master secret, which was generated between them 48 bytes, and also is resumable, a yes or no flag that allows no connections in an old session. All right. So this is what we call this a state. State includes how many parameters? 6. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 parameters. So this information will exist where? At the client and the server. So both will share, both will know them, right? Okay? So the connection state, so this is what we call it, session state. And now let's take a look at the connection state. Let's take a look at the connection state. So the connection state is defined by connection, a connection is divided by connection state as a set of parameters established between what? Client and server? Between two peers. Between two peers. A state between two peers. Maybe we have something in here. Here. So these are the connection state parameters, okay? Okay, so SSL used two attributes to distinguish cryptographic secrets, write and read, all right? Because the client could write to the server or could read from the server. And the server could write to the client or could read from the client. So there's two states, okay, states. Okay, the term write specifies the key used for signing or encrypting out. Right? I mean, like when you are sending it, when you're sending data, so what you have to sign it and you have to encrypt it. So what we call this process? Write. Right. Okay. Write. All right. But it's for the other parties called what? Read. Read. So when you write, the other party read. When you read, the other party wrote to you, right? The term write specifies the key used for signing or encrypting outbound messages. The term read specifies the key used for verifying the decrypt or decrypting inbound messages. Note that the write key of the client is the read key of the server. Okay, okay, and vice versa. So these are for example, the first one is the server and the client. The server and the client random numbers. Then we have the server with max secret, the client write max secret, the server write secret, and so on and so forth. These are the parameters. So what we conclude, the client and the server have 6 different cryptography secrets. 3 read secrets and 3 write secrets. The read secrets for the client are the same as the write secrets for the server and vice versa. Alright? Alright, so that's the state for the thing. Alright. So now, let me surprise you, there's 4 protocols that we're gonna take a look. So we have discussed the SSL without showing how SSL accomplishes the job. Okay, so now okay, what are the protocols? So SSL is what by itself? What is SSL?
Methodology.
A protocol. Okay, a protocol, right? A protocol divided into four protocols. So the protocol, it's 4 protocols put together. They make the SSL. Fair? Okay. So the 4 protocols are the Handshake Protocol, Change Cipher Spec Protocol, Alert Protocol, and Record Protocol. Let's take a look at the 4. Ready? Alright, so what we are talking about one more time in here. What is SSL? It's a protocol. Where does it operate?
Transport.
No? Between application and transport. Okay, it takes from the application the data, prepare it, and send it to the transport. It works with which transport protocol? The reliable protocol, which is the TCP. Right? Fair? So far? Fair? Okay. This SSL protocol by itself is like 4 different protocols put together, made one protocol. Right? Exactly like TCP/IP. TCP/IP, what is TCP/IP? 2 protocols put together will make what? Internet. The internet protocol, right? This is a major 2, okay? So let's take a look at these protocols quickly. The handshake. Okay, that's what we are saying, right? Okay, the application layer, then the data gonna go to the handshake protocol. Okay, there is handshake protocol. There is change cipher spec protocol. There is alert protocol, and the data is coming from where? The application going to the record. We're creating a record. So what does let's take a look at the name. Handshake protocol. What does it do? The server and the sender, they have to handshake, exchange information. Let's make a deal. We need to communicate. So let's create the master key. Let's create the 6 keys. Let's exchange all of it. So handshake. Okay, but we have to look closely how handshake is happening. And the second one is change cipher spec protocol. So usually the state will be ready or not ready, active or not active. So we'll see how that happens. And alert protocol, what alerts are for? What alerts are for in life? When there's a problem, right? In the protocol, in the other 3 protocols, we have to alert the other party, right? So that's what we use it for. And the record protocol, what we have here, the data framed there that we're gonna send where? Okay? It's kinda, we use the 3 protocols to form the data in this protocol. Let's take a look, alright? Alright, so we have discussed this, and the record protocol is the carrier, okay? The protocol is the carrier. It carries a message from the 3 other protocols as well. The data coming from where? From the application layer. Okay, so this basically in here, it will have information coming from where? From the application layer, information coming from handshake, from here, and from the alert. Coming from 4 places. All will be put together in the record, and it will be sent to where? To the transport layer, which is TCP, alright, which is a TCP. Alright. The handshake, okay, so alright, so the handshake protocol provides security parameters for the record protocol. It establishes a cipher set and provides keys and security parameters. It also authenticates the server to the client and the client to the server. So these are the function of the handshake. Alright? Alright. The change cipher spec protocol, which is the second one in here. Okay, what's the job there? is used for signaling the readiness of cryptographic secrets. Just small function, very small function. Okay, when everything is ready, it signals that we are ready. All right, we'll see how. All right, and then the alert protocol in here, what does it do? Is used to report abnormal conditions, mistakes, errors, whatever, abnormal conditions. So let's quickly take a look at the Handshake Protocol. We're gonna look at the 4 protocols. These 4 protocols form one protocol, we call it SSL. Yeah, record is, everything goes to record. But the whole thing is here, called SSL. So let's take a look at this first, then this, then this, then this. Good? Alright. Alright, so the Handshake Protocol. Look at the Handshake Protocol in here. Okay, it has 4 phases. So phase one, and by the way, when you read it, it's like a logic. It's logical, really. It's very logical, right? But it's like complex logic. Alright? Okay, so phase 1, establishing security capabilities. Okay, phase 2, server authentication and authentication. So server authentication and key exchange. So you have to authenticate the server and key exchange. Then phase 3, client authentication. Remember we spoke about this is so many times in this class. We said that many of us think that the server only has to authenticate the client. That's true. It has to claim the client, but always we have to authenticate the server. Okay, the server has to, because we have to make sure it's a valid server. So the client needs to authenticate the server, that it's a valid server, and the server has to authenticate the client. And that's what we do in these 2 steps. Okay, server authentication and key exchange, and here client authentication and key exchange. Alright? Then after that, finalizing the Handshake Protocol. 4 phases. Okay, we establish the security capabilities, the authentication, key exchange, and then what you have, the final thing. And this is part of the exchange. Alright, so when you take at the phase 1, quickly, let's take a look at the phase 1. Okay, let's go take a look at the phase 1. Okay, what we do in the phase 1, we establish the security capability. So what we do in here, the client and the server announce their security capabilities and choose those that are convenient for them. So, for example, the client says, I could do this, I could do, for example, another encryption, only 2 or 3. Not necessarily the client can do all the 6. SSL support the 6, but the client not necessarily can support the 6. You agree? Alright? So the client has to tell the server, I can do this and this and this. Then the server has to pick. Alright? So that's what it is. So choose those that are convenient for both. In this phase, a session ID is established and the Cipher suite is chosen. So they have to agree in one Cipher suite, because that will be like contract. That's their contract. Okay? And the parties agree upon a particular compression method. Finally, 2 random numbers are selected. We spoke about that. And one by the client and one by the server, to be used for creating what? The master secret. The master secret. And okay. So this is established by what? 2 messages are exchanged in the phase. Okay. The first message is client hello. So the client sent a hello. Okay. What does it include? Version of what? Of the SSL, because there's multiple versions. Okay. Or not even the highest version it can support. So there's version of SSL. Okay, so the client will tell the highest version I could support is 1.3, for example, 3.1. All right. Then the client's random number. Remember that we said the client has to generate a random number, and then session ID, which is a random number, 8 bits, and the Cipher suite. We have so many suites you have to pick. So suite the client says, oh, these are the suites I could choose, I could use. And the compression method is gonna go to where? To the server. So what does the server respond? With the lower version that he can support from what the high. Okay, so let's say, for example, the client can support 3.1, and server could support 3.1. Then we'll send 3.1. What if it can support only 3.0? Then we'll send 3.0 because what? Backward compatible. Then the server random number, it will generate a random number, and the session ID selected Cipher set. The client told them I could use this and this and this and this. The server now will choose. And compression method. The client says I could use this and this and this and this. Then it will select one of them. So in here, what they did in phase one, they know their capabilities, what the client is capable to do, and what the server is capable to do, and they agree in something common. They agree in something common. Makes sense? They agree in something common, right? All right. Then after that, we will explain the hello server. So after phase one, what will happen after this phase is finished? After phase one, the client and the server know the following. They know the following. The version of SSL, because there's multiple versions, so they have to use similar version. Number two, the algorithms for key exchange, message authentication, and encryption. They have to agree. Through what? The suite. They agree on that. And then the compression method, they know it, and the two random numbers for the key generation. So that's the end, that's the result of what? Phase one. Then after that, you're gonna come to phase two. In phase two, what do you have? Phase two of Handshake Protocol. What are you gonna do? What you will have in phase two? All right. So now you're gonna exchange the certificate. So you're gonna have the server will send a certificate that includes a chain of certificates. Okay. All right. Then it will send also a server public key. So this is server key exchange. And we'll send the list of acceptable certificates, a list of acceptable authorities, and then it end by no thing. So the server will send all of these to where for authentication to the client. We'll send it to the client. Okay. So again, what they're gonna send the certificate. It is required that the server sends a certificate message to authenticate itself. The server has to authenticate itself to where? To the client, so to the server. The message includes a list of certificates of type X509. The certificate is not needed if the key exchange algorithm is anonymously held. Then after that, what we have? The server public key, the server key exchange. All right. After the certificate message, the server sends a server key exchange message that includes its contribution to the pre-master secret. Remember, pre-master secret is generated by two parties, right? This message is not required. Okay. Then you have the certificate request. Okay. The server may require the client to authenticate itself. So if the server require the client to authenticate itself, this will happen where? In phase 3. In phase 3. So in phase 3, if you remember in here, in phase 3, what will happen? The client authenticate itself, right? But phase 3 will take place only if server asked for it. In phase 2. In phase 2. Right? Clear at this point? Alright? Alright, so the certificate the server may require the client to authenticate itself. In the server hello done, the last one, hello done here, server hello done. Okay, the last message in phase 2, which is a signal to the client that the phase 2 is complete. All right. So what happened at the end of phase 2? Okay, two things. The server is authenticated to the client, and The client knows the public key of the server if required. That's it. That's a phase 2. And after that, we're gonna go to phase 3. Okay, phase 3. Okay, this is the 4 cases in phase 2. I mean, you could take a look at that. There's 4 cases, and I'm going to spend time there. We'll go to phase 3. Okay, in the phase 3, what will happen? The first thing, certificate, chain of certificates. Okay, so to certify itself to the server, the client tries to certify itself to the client server. The client sends a certificate message. Okay, then the client key exchange in here, client key exchange. Okay, what is it used for? Okay, so after the sending the certificate message, the client sends a client key exchange message, which includes its contribution to the pre-master secret key. The content of the message are based on the key exchange. Alright? And then the certificate verify, and here to verify the certificate sent. So after the phase 3, what will happen? The client is authenticated to who? To the server. And both the client and the server know the pre-master secret. The pre-master secret. What we gonna do with the pre-master secret? We create the master secret, right? From the master secret, what we gonna do? Create the secrets material. From the secrets material, what we gonna create? The 6 keys, the 6 things we gonna lock. Very simple, right? Alright. And then we have the final phase, which is phase 4. For what we do in phase 4, so change. The first thing will happen. Change cipher spec. Change cipher spec here. Will be sent from the client to the server. Okay, the client sends a change cipher spec message to show that it has moved all the cipher suite set and parameters from the pending state. It moves from the pending state to active state. There's 2 states, pending and active. Once everything is ready, it will do pending state to active state. This message is actually part of the change cipher spec protocol that we will, okay. Then finished, we'll have finished in here. Finished, alright. The next message is also sent by the client. It is finished message that announces the end of the handshake from the client side. Then after that, what we have, the same thing, change cipher, same as explained, and the finished. So now the handshake finished. Handshake finished. How many phases we have for handshake? Let's go back in here. Just refresh your memory. Okay. So how many? 4. 4 phases. Phase 1, okay, and we know the capabilities. Phase 2, where we authenticate the client, the server, and phase 3, we authenticate the client, and then in here finalize and enforce it. Okay, that means okay, in phase 1, how many messages are exchanged? Right? In phase 2, how many messages are exchanged?
4.
4. In phase 3, how many messages are exchanged?
3.
3. In phase 5, how many messages exchanged? 4. Alright?
This is a 4, yeah?
4.
Phase 4, yeah?
4 messages. Okay? Alright, so after phase 4, the client and the server are ready to exchange data. All of this talk, just right now, they are ready to exchange what? Data. Alright? So all that, what we were talking about, do you remember what we were talking about? That SSL has how many protocols? 4. What is the first one?
Handshake.
Handshake. That's the handshake. Now we're going to talk about the second protocol. The second protocol, which is change cipher spec protocol. Okay, remember that there is 2 states, pending and active. Pending and active, right? So in here we have, all right. So the question is, when can the 2 parties use these parameter secrets? SSL mandates that the parties cannot use these parameters or secrets until they have sent and received a special message. So they really, so what's the step? They have to exchange what? The parameter secrets. Then they have to use it to send the first private message to test it out. All right. So the and the change cipher, which we call it the change cipher spec message, which is exchanged during the handshake protocol and defined in the change cipher spec protocol. The reason is that the issue is not just sending or receiving a message. The sender and the receiver need two states, not one. One state, which is the binding state, keep track of the parameters and secrets, and the other state, the service state or the active state. All the parameters and secrets used by the record protocol to sign or verify or whatever they need to do. All right. So there is inbound. Inbound means read. Outbound means write. All right. So that's what will happen. Okay. So what will happen here? In here, this is the state. What will happen? They have to. Okay. So in here, what we have in here, we have the parameters. How many parameters we said there? 6. 6 parameters, right? 2 IV, 2 for the digest, and 2 for the encryption. They are here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in here, what we have? The first one, cipher, MAC, cipher key, MAC key, and the IV. This is at the client. The same thing happens on the sender. At the beginning, I mean, after you exchange, you're still in what state? Pending. You are pending. All right. To change it from pending to active, what you have to do? You have to send a test message. So everything in the table in here pending. Everything in the table here pending. The client will send change cipher spec. Once it's sent, what will happen to the write, because it writes. Okay, with the write, what will happen with the write parameters will move to where? To active, from pending to active. And once this received, it's already reading, right? So the reading, the reading in here, was here moved to where? To the reading active. Then another message goes from where? Server to the client. So in here what happened? Writing. So the one in here writing moved where? To the writing active. And in here what's happening in here? Reading. The one read in here will move to the read active. Okay? So basically in short, what this step does, testing. In the previous state, what you did, in the previous protocol, the handshake, what you did, you exchanged 6 parameters, right? And after that, you are ready to exchange data. Okay? But before exchange data, you have to test everything. By doing what? Sending 2 test messages, one from the client to the server, and the other one from the client to the server. Then we move from one state to another state. We move from pending state to active state. It's simple. I don't know why. That's how it's designed. Okay? That's how it's designed. Okay? So that's the second protocol. How many protocols we learned?
2.
Exchange. Okay? What we call this one? Spec, whatever, check, whatever. Okay? Alright? I'm not convinced about this step, but that's fine. Okay, I don't have to. Okay? Alright? Then after that, we'll go to the next protocol. What is the next protocol after that? Okay, the alert. Alert is easy. Alert is easy. So sometimes you could alert defined for SSL. So SSL uses alert protocol for reporting errors and abnormal condition. Could it happen? Always. Always could it happen. So you need to have reporting. It has only one message type, the alert message that describes the problem and the level. So what are the 2 levels we have? Warning and fatal. That's it. Warning or fatal. Okay. So as you see in here, and these are the values. Okay, and the values, and this is the description, and this is the meaning. So you look in here. The last one. Let's take example. The first one. The first one says the description is close notify. The meaning sender will not send any more messages. Okay, so you notify the sender close. That please don't send any messages. Let's take a look at 10. Unexpected message. So an inappropriate message received. So errors. It could okay, it will be exchanged. So this alert goes from who to who? Sure. From client to the server or from the server to
Server
the
to client.
Okay? So that's the third protocol. Now we're gonna go to the record protocol. What does the record protocol? Look, collects the data from 4 places. What are the 4 places?
Client.
The handshake, the
It's back.
exchange, and the alert, and the
Record.
data coming from the application. So let's take a look in here. So in here, what will happen in the record protocol? Is it time for a break? You wanna guys have a break? It's 7:30. Unless you're enjoying.
Finish.
Huh? You wanna break for 10 minutes? 10 minutes break? Okay, this is okay. They don't even feel the time. Would you like tea?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Anybody likes tea could come also. So we start at the record protocol, right? So the record protocol, where is it? Yes. So the record protocol carries message from 4 places: from the handshake protocol, from the alert protocol, and from the change cipher space, okay, or spec, and from the application layer. So it collects them and will give you the okay. So when you take a look at the payload from the upper layer protocol, it will fragment it first. First big. It has to create equal fragments, okay? So the message is fragmented and optionally compressed. So what you'll have, the message, you have fragment and compression, and this will be compressed, right? When you compress it, you're gonna you pass it to the hash function, okay? And from the hash function, you're gonna create the MAC. You attach the MAC to the compressed message, all right? Then everything, which includes the compressed message or the fragment, compressed fragment with the MAC, will be
Okay.
encrypted. And that's what we will have, the encrypted fragment. The encrypted fragment will be your SSL payload. And you're gonna add to it the header encrypt. It will be the encrypted and the SSL, okay? So very simple. I mean, you do that for all the fragments, right? Okay, so the RPH, which is the record protocol header. So that's the record protocol header, okay, which is in here. The record protocol header has it's I think 32 plus 8. How much? 40. Okay, protocol, the version. Okay, 2 bytes, and the length. The length is 2 bytes. Okay. Then you have the compressed frame. Where is the compressed frame? Where is it? Here. Compressed frame gonna come in here, and then you have the MAC, and everything will be everything in here. The compressed frame with the MAC. Okay, will be what?
Encrypted.
Encrypted, excluding what?
Link.
The header. Okay, excluding the header. Then you put the header in here, and then here you're gonna have the encrypted everything. That's how it looks. That's how it will look like. All encrypted except the header. Okay? Very elegant, right? Alright. So the process can only be done when the cryptographic parameters are in the active state. Alright. Message sent before the movement from pending to active are neither signed nor encrypted. However, in the next step, okay. Anyway, when you take a look, so what we have fragmented. Let's take a look at the fragmentation. Give you some information about the fragmentation. Okay. So for the fragmentation, what we do, the sender, a message from the application layer is fragmented into blocks of 2 to the power 14. That's the maximum size. So if the message coming from the application is 2 to the power 28, how many fragments we're gonna have? 2. Okay, we're gonna have 2 bytes with the last block possible less than the size. The receiver, all at the receiver, the fragments are combined. So your fragment at the sender, it could go through multiple routes. It will be defragmented or combined where at the receiver, the destination. Then after that we have the compression. Now the size of the fragment must not exceed the 10 to 24 bytes. Okay, do the compression. Then after that, signing, verifying. So signing and verifying using the MAC. Okay, and that's it. All right. So that's what will happen exactly. So in here you have the MAC with the secret, the bad one, the sequence number, the compressed type, the compressed length, and the compressed frame. Everything will be negotiated. Hash algorithm will be signed, and you're gonna create the MAC for it. Attach the MAC, which is will go here. Okay. Then the next section talk about the Ssl message formats. So you're gonna send multiple messages, different kind of messages, right? All right. So so as we have discussed, the message from 3 protocols and data from application layer are encrypted in the regular protocol message. In other words, the regular protocol message encapsulates messages from 4 different entities, right? You agree? Okay. All right. So regular protocol general header. That's the general header. The regular protocol general header. It has a protocol, the version, the length, version, and the length. So what does the protocol have in here? What do you think it will have? It 1 byte field defines the source and destination of the encapsulated message. It is used for multiplexing and demultiplexing. The value are 20. Okay, 20. So you could have, like, for example, the back of the message could be change cipher spec. It would be 20, or it could be 21 if the message is alert protocol, or it could be 22 if it's a handshake, or it could be 23 if it's from the application. Alright? Depends where the data is coming from, right? Okay. The version, what does the version tell you in here? Version of what? Of the SSL. There's different versions of SSL, right? And the length is a 2 byte field defines the size of the message. So this will decide or put the size of the message without the header, without the header. Okay. So this is how is the header. Let's take a look at the few messages quickly. So the first message we have change cipher spec message. All right. So the cipher spec message, what is the protocol should be? 20. Always 20. And then here the version of the CSL, the length, and always has how much? 1 byte. It has 1 byte. It has 1 point. And what does this byte means? 1 byte field, which called the CSS, and its value is 1. Okay, that means we have moved from one state to one state. What is the state? Pending to active. Okay. Then the second message in here, you have the alert message. So again, alert always protocol 21, the version of SSL, the length, okay, 2. It has the level. How many levels for alert we have? 2. Fiddle and warning. And this is the description. That's it. So these are very 2 simple messages that we are sending. Okay, the protocol and all of that, right? Then we have the third, which is this is the generate header, the handshake protocol, number 22. Okay, protocol 22 version, and we have the length, the type, and the length again, the length of the message. So for the type, this 1 byte field defines the type of the message. So far, 10 types have been defined. These are the 10 types have been defined. That's for what? for handshake. Did you see these messages before? We did. Remember when we explained it? So for example, hello, request, client, hello. So we have seen them before in the 4 phases, right? In the 4 phases of the exchange message. Okay. So so these are the different okay okay. So this is for example, okay, and now all of them have different format. We could now list all of these. Okay, so for example, this is example for virtual. Which one is this? So this is hello request message. I think this is the hello client request message. Okay, the service hello message, the certificate message, and the service exchange message. All the 10 have certain format. Okay, that you're saying. Okay. So how many types of messages we have?
10.
10 in where? In the
In
handshake.
handshake, yeah.
And 1 in alert, and 1 in cyberspec. This is how much? 12. Different 12, right? 2 plus 10, 12, right? Different messages, okay? And then we have, okay, this is the client, we have a client, then we have in here the hash calculation for certificate verify message. So you have the handshake message, the master secret, the bad one, hash, and we just get the hash in here. And then in here the client key exchange message. This is the finished message, okay, different message, and this is the hash calculation for the finished message, how they calculated. And this is the recorded protocol message for application data. Okay, so this is for the application data. So you have 23 for application data. You have 23 version, the length, and you have the compressed fragment, and then we have the hash. We have the hash. All right. So that's what this is. So it's a little bit complex. All right. Now the TLS is the next level of its transportation. So the book just listed the differences. You could take a look at it. Okay. I need to move it quickly because today is the last lecture, and I'll give you just introduction for the last thing in here, and then we can okay. So we'll talk about the network layer at IPsec. Okay, IPsec. Any questions about this itself? No questions? All right. I'm sure you have many questions. You can come to my office if you do. Okay. So in here we're gonna talk about. So basically, where is the IPsec works? IPsec works at the network layer. IPsec is designed to provide security at the network layer. We already explained why we need it, right? Why we need it. So why SSL and TLS is not enough? If you are using UDP, there is no SSL or TLS. You're gonna go to the network and then you have to secure it, right? Okay. All right. So IPsec operates in one of the two different modes. There is transport mode and tunnel mode. Okay. Let's take a look. In the transport mode, so there is 2 modes. Remember, there is 2 modes: transport mode and the tunnel mode. Let's start with the transport mode. Okay. In the transport mode, the IPsec protects what is delivered from the transport layer to the network layer. So let's take a picture here. So IPsec in transport mode does not protect the IP header. It does not protect the IP header, right? Does not the header. It protects what? The IP body. Okay? And it only protects the information coming with. So what will happen in here? You see in here, for example, a transport layer payload is coming from where? From transport. You're gonna move in here. This is the IPsec header. It will not be encrypted. It will not be secure. It will move in here. This is the IP payload, and this is the IP header. This will not be encrypted or secured. Only things in here will be encrypted and secure. All right? Will be encrypted and secure. Okay. So if you need to take a look at in action how it works, so you have the data coming from where? Transport layer. You have the data, you have the header. Then you're gonna go to the middle, which is IPsec layer. It has a header and trailer. You're gonna move it to the network layer. Everything in here will be encrypted and secured, but the header is not. It will be transmitted, and we're gonna go back. So transport mode is secure the body of the IB, not the IB itself. So then the second mode is the tunnel mode. The second mode is the tunnel mode. In the tunnel mode, IPsec protects the entire IB packet. Entire means what? The information and the header. So you're putting everything inside a tunnel. Okay, tunnel. It takes an IP packet, including the header, applies IPsec security methods to the entire packet, and then adds a new IP header. Okay, the question is now, if you encrypt the IP header, is that good or bad? It's bad, right? Because you encrypted the map. We'll not be able to read the source address, the destination address. It's encrypted. So when it goes from one place to a router, the router needs to read the source IP destination. It's encrypted, it cannot. So it does encrypt everything, but will add an auxiliary header. What is the auxiliary header or the additional header for? To be read while you're moving from place to place. Agree? To move from.
For VPN?
Hmm?
Is that what they use for VPN?
Yeah. IPsec is used for VPN to create end-to-end. Alright, so that's what it is. So if you need to take a look in here, what will happen? So you have the IP payload and you have the IP header. Okay, you move it in here with the IPsec trailer and the header. Everything in here will be encrypted. But to be able to have your way, you create another IP header in here, which is not a new header, which is not encrypted. Which has. So the new IP header, as we will see shortly, has different information than the original IP header. Tunnel mode is normally used between two routers, between a host and a router, between a router and a host. Okay, as you see it in here. Okay, so you have a router in here. You have the network layer with the header. You create the IPsec layer. Everything will be encrypted. You put it in here. You add an additional header, and you transmit data. So usually when you transmit data, when it goes to this router, the router has to decide what to do with the packet. So what does it do? It has to read the header. If everything is encrypted, it will not be able to read it. So it has to read what? The additional header, which has the information. So basically, what's the difference between transport mode and versus the tunnel mode? In the transport mode, you have the application layer, you have transport, you create IPsec layer, and you put everything in the network layer. However, in the tunnel mode, application, transport, the network layer, you create the IPsec, okay, and then you have a new network layer because you have a new header. Like you added a new header, like a new transmission. Okay. Finally, there is two security protocols. The first one. So there is how many modes? Two, which are tunnel and transport. How many security protocols there? Two. Okay. What are they? Authentication header and ESP, encapsulation security payload. So we'll take a look at them. So the authentication header provides source authentication and data integrity. That's it. It does not provide privacy. It does not encrypt anything. So source, authentication, and message integrity. That's it. But there is no privacy. There is no encryption. So that's what you have in here. You have the IP header. Then you have the rest of the original message. This is the padding. And you're going to generate to it authentication header, which includes the next header, the payload length, okay, the security parameters index, and the sequence number, and the authentication digest. So you add a digest. Digest for what? For the rest of the data. So what does it provide? Message authentication, source authentication, and integrity. That's it. That's it. Does not provide anything more than that. So ESP provides three things: source authentication, message or data integrity, and privacy. Why privacy? Because it will be encrypted. So look what will happen. So you have in here the ESP header and the trailer. You have the data in here, all right? And what you do, you take the data with the trailer. What you gonna do? Encrypt it. So it's a privacy. And you take the header with the trailer with the data, and you do what? Authentication. What you're gonna create? Authentication digest. You're gonna add it to here. So now what we provided? Authentication. We provided privacy by encryption. Okay, and source authentication all right. So IP6 supports both IP4 and IP6. Okay, and IP6 okay. So that's what I wanted to tell you. So how many options we have in here? So we have how many modes? Two. What's the first one? Transport. In the transport, how many security methods we could have? Transport, authenticated header, transport with ESP. And the second one, tunnel with AH, and tunnel with ESP. How many options? 4. Okay. Authentication header provides what? Source what? Authentication and integrity. ESP provides what? Both and plus privacy. All right. So that's what I wanted to cover in this here. All right. So that's will conclude the course. Congratulations. So we were able to go through like 90% of the textbook. All right. And I can't tell you. I took the course a long time ago. We did not even cover half what we covered here. Okay. So you did very well. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you did the homework. You do the homework. I hope you'll do well in the exam. I hope you do well in your exam. So this is all we covered in here is the foundation. It's all foundation stuff that from now on anything related to security should be very easy and breeze to read. All right. As I told you, the last 3 lectures, without going through what we have gone through, the math and the design and the algorithms that we have learned, you'll not be able to go through them. Okay. Now, if you hear about different algorithms, you'll be able to go and read them and understand them, because we looked at many algorithms from the inside, how the algorithms are built. You know about the P-box, the S-box, right? You know about the different operations, the mathematical operations, a lot of things we have learned, right? So I think you did very, very well, and feel free. This is just we learned as much as the course allows in here. You have the project, so the project technically we should have a presentation the following week. I'm scheduled to travel to a conference, and next week it will be the Thanksgiving, so everybody will be eating turkey at this time, I think, or maybe like by this time having the Pepsi or the Coke. Okay, they're filled, they're ready, so they try to relax. But the following week, supposedly we have the project presentation. I'm supposed to travel for a conference. If I don't travel, then we have a presentation here. If I travel, I'll let you know. Then the presentation will be in the week of the final. So again, I put a window, and the groups need to come to do the presentation. All right. The exam, the final exam, will be on Thursday from 6 to 8:30. Not the next Thursday. Okay, not the next Thursday, the following Thursday, finals week. It will be in one of the labs. I announced that. It will cover the materials we have covered after the midterm. Okay, and it will be as simple as you might expect. It will be just if you do the homework, you'll be okay. So make sure you do all the homework and you understand the concepts there. So I promise I will not try to break any bone. Okay, it's not my way anyways. Okay, the most important thing for me is the project. Okay, I want to see a good project, good work, teamwork, good results, hard effort. Okay. Those who, for example, struggle a little bit, but they do significant amount of work, and they need some extension, they need to talk to me in the office that, you know, we did this work, but we need like a few more days or a week or two for a good reason. I'll be more than I have to be convinced that if I give that extension, that this group or this team will do a good job. I'll be more than happy to help in that. All right. So that's my final words. Any questions for me? No. All right. Thank you so very much. You have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.